everyone, I hope you're having a nice Sunday. Tonight I thought I would do a demonstration on how to needle felt acorns. I sell those on my eBay store, and I also sell a lot of them at the swaps and the fairs and stuff, so I need to get my stock built up a little bit, a little down on them. So I figured I'd show you how to do it. First we'll get some fleece. This is what fleece looks like after it's been carded. It might still have a little VM, which is vegetable matter, and that would be little bits of hay or hairs, long hairs that might be in it. Not a big deal. You just kind of poke them out. They're all clean. It's not like it's something nasty. It's just vegetable matter. Now, how I make the base, this is just how I do it. There are other people that do it different ways. I'm absolutely positive of that. This is a craft that has become spread quite wide, and a lot of people have their own techniques. I use a wooden skewer. Yep, a skewer. What you would get to put your vegetables and little beef chunks or turkey or chicken or whatever you want that you grill. That's what I use. And I started off by pulling a piece and thinning it out just a little bit so that I can manipulate it around that skewer and it won't be all bunched up. And if it's too long to handle, you can break it in half and just use half of it and then go and use the other half afterwards. I wrap it around the very edge like so, and then I start to spin. I'm going to create this little knob in the middle, and that is going to be the acorn's body. Now the caps themselves I collect. I go out and I collect acorns and I remove the caps from them, and I use the acorns for other crafts that I do. And I use the caps on my fairies, on these little acorns that I felt, on a multitude of things. I have a lot, little gnomes I'll put them on. I have all kinds of things that I use the caps on. But I'll keep building that up until I get it to the fatness that I want. And you want that pretty tight, because the tighter that you can get that, the less you're going to have to stab it. And if you've never done needle felting before, yes, we use a barbed needle. That's one right there. It has little barbs like you would on a fishing hook, and as it's literally stabbed in and out of the fibers, it causes them to lock together, which creates it felting. And those are the types of needles that are used on the big machines. Like if you have felt liners in your boots or a wool jacket, that's how they create that. Is that fiber, that fabric to make those items is by felting them, and they have thousands of these needles. This craft, needle felting by hand like this, is relatively new. I believe it's only like 10, 12 years old. It's not that old at all. I think a worker must have been sitting in the mill, needle came off, was bored, and said, I'm going to give this a try. And thus it was born. So now I've taken that off, and I'm going to literally stab all those loose fibers down into this acorn that I'm building. You want to remove it from your foam. This is just a piece of foam that I've cut into these little squares. I have other different things that I set on. I've tried the rice sack. I don't care for that very much. I like this nice thick because you're stabbing so hard, your needle can get really deep. And I've literally busted the tops of my needles, the tips of my needles off from going down into an item and it hitting, connecting with the table or whatever underneath. So if I use this nice thick piece of foam, I never have to worry about that. And you can buy these right at any Hobby Lobby, AC Moore, and then cut it to whatever size you want. If you want a nice big thick side, go ahead. People cover them with muslin, burlap, regular cotton fabrics, whatever you want. And then I'm going to roll that in my hand. By doing that, I'm heating that up a little bit and activating it to felt too. I'm going to stab her some more. It takes a long time to get these fibers nice and tight. I'm not actually going to sit here and continue, but you can see that I can still get that moved, and you want that so that it doesn't move. I have some done over here, and I'll show you the difference. Aren't they cute? And I've put the little caps on. Now those are nice and tight, and I usually sell these by the dozen. Okay, now how do I get these two together? Some people will use hot glue. I don't. I choose not to. One thing, if you're a crafter and you know about hot glue, is when you use it, you're going to end up with little hair streaming everywhere. Well, where you're working with hair fiber, it's really hard to manipulate that and get it done. And if you make a mistake, you can't just take that apart and fix it. I'm going to use E6000. That's my glue of choice, and I go through tubes and tubes of this stuff. I take a toothpick. I just squeeze a little tiny bit in the top. Wrap it up around my toothpick. Then I'm going to take the cap that I choose. Put that E6000 in there, and I'm just going to roll it around with a toothpick. Just like so. Set that down out of the way. This is already tightened up. I'm going to put it right in there like so. I'm going to give it a little squeeze and push it down so that I know there's no air or anything in there. And I might go around, this is pretty tight, so I really don't need to do much, but I might go around and just tuck in and tighten up a little bit. Remember not to stab into the acorn cap though, because it could break your needle. And you also don't want your needle to get full of glue. Alright, it's just that simple. I mean, it's time consuming getting the fibers tight enough to create the acorns. That's hours and hours of stabbing when you're making these. It looks fast on this video because I skipped stages through, you know, so that you don't have to sit here and watch me do it for the length of time it takes. But it does. It takes quite a while, and the bigger you want them to be, the longer it takes. And really, the size goes by what you have for caps. Some of my caps are really big, and some of them are really tiny. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. Start collecting acorns this summer. You're going to want them. Once you start doing this, you're just going to love it. It's fun to do, and you have so much you can do with it. Once these are all done, some people put them in little bowls. Some people, I've seen them strung. I've actually strung them up. I've put them in dishes. I make little felted squirrels too. Sometimes I'll put a handful with them. There's tons of things that you can do. Thumbs up, please. If you're a subscriber, thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and click that subscription button. Don't forget to click the bell. When you click the bell, it's going to notify you every time I put a new video out. And right now, I'm trying really hard to put videos out every single solitary day. That's a goal I set for myself for this month. I didn't do a New Year's resolution. Instead, I set myself a couple of simple goals, ones that would make it, that were difficult but achievable. All right, see you tomorrow.